I don't have much to say. We certainly talked about the voting matters that happened this morning. Other than that, I'll just take questions, whatever you guys are interested in talking about.
Can you tell us a little more about the international market? What did you get out of the Bavarian, I guess, area last year and the expansion now into Brazil? What's the team gaining out of that?
Well, certainly, we're learning as we go. The attention in Bavaria started with Germany first. You kind of get the other countries as part of the German bid, and certainly with St. Brown's popularity there and connection. He has a camp over there. We've seen some people along with him last year to be over there for the camp. We'll probably do the same thing this year. We had a couple of watch parties over there for Lions fans, so we're growing a fan base. Obviously, there's some connection to Detroit and Michigan because of the auto industry, so that makes some sense. We're working on a couple of sponsorships already over there. It'll be interesting. Brazil, we kind of intended to do that last year, but we put it on the back burner. Thought we'd focus on Germany and Canada the first year. So Brazil is another market. There's a lot of football fans down there. There's some connection. Ford has a big operation down there, so it could lead into some other sponsorships, that are auto related, et cetera. Just build a better fan base worldwide. I think right now we got a lot of popular players, and playing to that is a good thing. So.
Speaking of the Ford brand, Ford name, just how important was getting that sponsorship deal renewed and that being now synonymous with Detroit Lions for years?
It was important. Obviously, it's something we've been working on for a while. It hasn't quite expired, but it was going to expire in 2 years. We had the Final Four coming in 27. That was after the expiration of their event, so we wanted to get it done so we could really maximize for Ford the benefit of being able to talk about the naming rights beyond the Final Four. They were great to work with, as you would expect, and economically, it's a much more contemporary deal. I won't get into the financial, but the old one was early on in the naming rights process, much lower than what the current market is. So it worked out great for us and great for them. And it's extending the longest naming rights, or one of them, in any stadium. I think it's got the #1 recall of any stadium in the country because of the connection to the Ford family, Ford Motor Company, Detroit. And a lot of these stadiums, it seems like there was a period of time that if you named a stadium, you went out of business or you were bought, and the stadium would change names. People forgot what it used to be called. So I think continuity makes it great for everybody.
Rob, what does it allow you to do? Like, without getting into the specifics of financials, but does that help capital expenditures or, pay, I don't know, people in the organization? What is that?
Well, certainly it's a source of revenue that is available for a lot of things, including coaching staffs and all the things that are outside the salary cap. We have to cover through those kind of revenue sources, and looking forward, hopefully, to continuing to have a great coaching staff and a great head coach, and continuing to invest in the facilities. You guys will see when you come in, we're doing a lot of renovation to Allen Park again this year. Brand new locker room for the players, expanding the weight room, all new weight equipment. So staying contemporary with all those things is helped by that kind of revenue, as well as increases in revenue elsewhere. So
How much are those things driven by the player performance review thing? I mean, some teams maybe push that aside. How important is that to you, and how you guys come back on that? And does that affect any of the things that you do at Allen?
we pay attention. We do our own survey too. So we have a survey that's just done by us for the players, and then we spend a lot of time with the leadership group. So as example, with the locker room, we put in front of them 2 or 3 things. We could do this, or this. What's your most important thing? Locker room resonated as the top thing for those guys. So some of it's related to what we're hearing directly from the players. Some of it's our survey. Some of it's the public survey. I think the public survey has kind of become, a little bit of a, who's better than the other team, as opposed to, is it really what your players want?
Yeah.
And it might be used for other purposes, but we pay attention to it. And no one wants to be graded low. We were up in a lot of the categories. The things that we're focusing on this year are ones that were even in that survey as well. It's nice to have a coach that everybody likes, and so you don't have to worry about it.
What do those upgrades to the facility mean for potential plans to move?
We have no plans to move right now. I think we're investing a ton in the building. We've looked at alternatives. There really isn't a great location that is superior to where we are. We're convenient to downtown. We're convenient to the airport. We're near all the highways. People have decided where to live based upon where the facility is. So it'd be very disruptive, I think, to move, and it would have to be something that's substantially better than what we have. I think the one thing that we're still going to lack is enough outside space to maybe have a third field and a little bit bigger training camp attendance. But those are minor compared to the benefits of the location and all the money we've plowed into the training room, the locker room, the weight room, and other things in the facility. When people walk in, they don't believe it's 20 plus years old. I mean, it kind of feels new, and that's that's probably going to be where we're going to be for the foreseeable future.
There's a story on ESPN last season about salary cap or insurance policies taken out on players, the cap recapture. Is that something that you guys do and would you explore doing in the future?
We have done it for a couple of player contracts. It's becoming more and more expensive, I think, because the insurance companies have had to pay out on a few of these things. So it gets into a financial decision about how much. It's like any other insurance, you never want to have to collect on it, but the premiums are real expenses while you're waiting to collect on it. So as an example, one of the ones that we did get some money back was we had an insurance policy on Trey Flowers' contract. So that when he had his injury and missed a number of games, we did collect on that. And when you do have that and you collect on it, you get credit on the salary cap in addition to the cash back. We've evaluated, we've got a lot of big contracts we did and a lot more on the horizon. So we'll continue to look at it, but the premiums are in the millions of dollars. It's not cheap.
With those contracts, we think in cap because that's how you build your roster. It's supposed to work your fans, but a lot of cash out obviously going with those. How difficult is the management of the signing and maybe the second year the option bonuses that go along on that front for you?
It's something we focus on all the time. I know you guys have wondered why we didn't sign any big-time free agents. We think we did. Some of them are on our team. If somebody else had signed them, it'd be news for them that they signed Derek Barnes or they signed Levi. So we kind of look at it in a couple ways. One, we've got contracts coming, obviously with Hutch and other ones, so you have to prepare for that. And you have contracts that we just did, and then you try to have the cash and the cap managed in such a manner that you can continue to have the team that you want to have. Right now, we're going to be focused. I know Brad talked a little bit about this, keeping our own guys. I mean, we're coming off of a year we were 15-2 with 17 guys on IR. I mean, if you look around the league and the other teams that had 17 guys on IR, they won 5 or 6 games. It's almost amazing that we won as many games. You look at the teams that were still in the playoffs. After we were eliminated, they had like 3 guys on IR. I think Philly had 2 in the Super Bowl. So, I think we're going to be better just if we get people back on the field, with the guys that were on IR at the end of the year, and then, planning to keep those guys who are in the queue, and you've got Gibbs and you've got Laporta. And that's been one of the benefits of drafting really well is we've had those guys on, relatively cheap contracts, but now we have to prepare for them to not be on cheap contracts. And I would rather, keep the guys that we know about that perform for us, they're part of our culture, than going out, and bringing in somebody else, as a big ticket free agent.
You guys had relatively good injury luck the year before, so was there anything you looked into in terms of maybe why you had that luck?
We're analyzing a lot of things. A lot of it was, I think, just bad luck. I mean, how many broken bones did we have? It wasn't. You can't look at the turf and was it too many ACLs or Achilles and lower body injuries that you can say that might have been caused by something else. A lot of it was friendly fire. I mean, we play a violent, aggressive style of defense, and Aleem McNeil runs into Hutch, and Derek Barnes runs into Anzalone. So a lot of it is we play hard, and I think that's somewhat to be expected. We are looking into whether we have enough calcium in everybody's diets, make sure that these bones are strong. And hopefully, like you said, with the year before, we didn't have as many injuries. I was talking to Dan about this the other day. I don't know if you guys ever saw The World According to Garp, the movie. Do you remember that movie? And there's a scene where Robin Williams and Glenn Close are shopping for a house, and they've gone through it, and they're out on the sidewalk looking at it, and a plane crashes into the house. And Robin Williams says, "We'll take it." And the realtor goes, "What?" He goes, "That will never happen again." And I kind of hope that's what our injury year was, that we had the plane crash, and we're not going to have that problem again. So, but you're looking at all that stuff, the training staff, do we need to dial back practices at different times, later in the season? I'm really pushing Mike North to give us a mid-season bye this year so that we don't have to play 14 games in a row without a break. So there's all those kind of things that we're looking at.
A lot of the rules that went through to expand replay assist, touchbacks to the 45, OT rules, what jumps out at you most?
A lot of conversation about all those things. The kickoff rule, we were in favor of it. We did. I don't know if that got out of the room. We separated the onside kick part of it, so it's right now we've only approved the touchback going to the 35. We value special teams, so we actually think it can play to our advantage. To force people to kick the ball not into the end zone every time, and we can cover kicks good, so we'll hopefully take advantage of that. We were also in favor of changing the onside kick, but that kind of got tabled, and there'll be some discussion probably in May about that. The overtime rules, we were a little reluctant to be in favor of it at the 15 minutes, which was the original proposal. They moved it back to a 10-minute overtime. It's a little less, obviously, wear and tear on the body. And I think it will probably force people to play fairly aggressive, knowing they only have 10 minutes. So we voted in favor of that after that change. The ones that we recommended, Dan kind of joked that we did lead the league in defensive holding and illegal contact. That had nothing to do with why we wanted to get rid of that rule. I just think it's a very, very punitive penalty, especially if the defense wins the first 2 downs and it's 3rd and 12 and somebody tucks somebody at 6 yards. Getting an automatic first down is too much of a benefit, I think, to the offense. It did not win. The only people that voted for us were us and the Jets, with AG running the same defense. So we might either be first or second in that penalty next year. On the playoff one, that was really something that kind of came up the week leading up to our Minnesota game, and St. Brown did an interview. You guys probably were all participating in it, where he didn't understand how you could be 14-3 and be the 5 seed. And it kind of went viral nationally, and Troy Vincent from the league reached out to me and said, I tend to agree with him. Would you mind partnering with us on making a proposal on that? So we made a proposal. There was a lot of discussion about it. We ultimately decided to withdraw it. They're going to look at different versions of it that maybe are not just based upon the record, but if you're at 500 or below 500 and you win a division, should you get a home game? So they put out different options. I said, I'm not proposing it because I expect to benefit from it. We could get hurt by it. If our division is really tough next year and we win it at 11-6 and somebody's 12-5, you might, lose a home game. But I just think every regular season game should matter. And that's where I think the real benefit of that rule was, because if you are in week 17 or week 18 right now, you could have your seeding locked up. But if you thought you could jump a division winner, or a division winner thought they could get past, they're going to play out the whole season, which I think is better for the whole league, which is the real benefit I saw in proposing it.
I know you're
What's the process of submitting, rule change proposal? Are you guys just keeping tabs of the season? Are you getting together at some point to talk about everything? Just kind of what's that process?
Yeah, we talk during the season. We kind of keep a running total of things that we think are worth considering. Then we meet at the end of the year, and we know we can't put in 15, so we winnow it down to the ones that we think are really important. We've got some roster rules that we talked about. I think as we continue to add games to the season with 17, if we go to 18, changing the 53-man limit, going up to maybe greater than 53, more than 48 on game day. We've talked about that. The one that we really talked about a couple years ago, go back to the Dallas game where we lost on the 2-point conversion that was overturned on the penalty. One of the things that was very odd in that situation is we were called for a 5-yard penalty, so we went back to the 7, and then Micah Parsons jumps offside, and you only get half the distance back. So you go from the 2 to the 7 to the 3.5. And we we talked about a rule that if you have consecutive penalties on something like that, it should be 5 and 5. Because it really gives the defense a free jump off, and he really jumped off sides trying to disrupt the play. So things like that we've talked about. And there'll be other ones that come up from time to time. I know people think we're a little more aggressive than we have been in the past. I think we've always thought about it, but we just now, I think, have a regime, particularly with Dan, Brad, and me, and Mike, that focus on it. And we won a bunch last year. We lost a few this year, but it gets people talking and thinking, which is a good thing.
Do you fully expect to play an international game next year after winning it against the other two?
I think it's highly likely, especially given that in 26 we'll have the extra home game, so it'll be 9 and 1. I would think that one of those 9 could be an international game. I've talked to the league a little bit about it. We're certainly overdue. So, and with the markets that we've now taken some marketing interest in, certainly playing in Germany with St. Brown would be an interesting thing to think about.
Christmas, I mean, you guys, Thanksgiving, I mean, is there almost like a built-in assumption there? Or?
I wish there was. That Christmas this year falls on a Thursday, so I think there's probably going to be a full day of NFL games, including a couple on Netflix like last year, and Thursday Night Football maybe on Amazon. So there could be 3 games on Christmas. I know we're a big TV draw, so I wouldn't rule out that they might ask us to do it. I do think for our fans, asking them to give up Thanksgiving and Christmas to come to a game is a big ask. So I've tried to avoid it, but we'll see what the schedule comes out.
Can you explain a little bit? I know your season ticket renewal rates are up. Obviously, that's a good thing. But I know you caught some flack from fans for the raise in prices. How do you guys determine that? A, and B, how do you manage the fan, backlash, I guess, when it comes to some of that?
Well, first of all, we look at what we think is reasonable given the market demand for the tickets, and we track every game, how many tickets are sold in the secondary market, what the price is. What's interesting, our season average for our 10 games, including preseason, the average ticket price on the secondary market was $404. The second highest in the NFL was $270. So we're 50% higher than the next highest team in the NFL. We're not pricing our tickets at $404 or under $200 on average. So we're still selling the tickets and making double, what the price was. So we're not going to jump to $400, but we are going to try and increase it to recognize what the market will carry. We had a 98% renewal rate. Still have 20-some thousand people on the wait list, which speaks to demand. Unlike prior years, I never got a single complaint this year about anybody's ticket price going up. We did, get some complaints from some people who we identified as really being brokers. They were buying, season tickets and then selling every game and making thousands of dollars. And so under the contract, we have the right to take those tickets back. And so the biggest complaints I got were the people who had their tickets taken away from them because they now can't resell them and make money. So it's a tough thing, but you have to recognize what the market is. And our game against the Commanders was the number 1 postseason ticket price other than a Super Bowl in the history of the NFL. The 2 games the year before were the most expensive wild card game and the most expensive division round game. So our fans are hungry to go to the Lions games. You see them on the road, how they travel with us. So it's just a function of the demand and the ability to price them at a point I think that's still fair relative to what other teams are pricing their tickets at, and well below what the secondary market calls for.
It's high, when the demand is this high around a team, it's just so much excitement. How does it change your job on a day to day? Like, is it keep you busy? How was last season from your perspective, just experiencing a season like that?
It was really good up until that Washington game. It's obviously winning's a lot more fun. It creates a different set of problems, with the expectations, the player contracts, the cash outlay, trying to keep up with all the fan enthusiasm, but it's a much more fun set of problems. And I think right now the biggest focus we've been spending our time on is, with the players that we have, the players that are going to be coming up for contracts, hopefully another successful draft class this year, how do we keep this going and do it in a way that we're not going to be a 15-2 team that goes to 6-11, then has to build it back. I don't know that we can be 15-2 again. I know one thing for sure: we cannot improve by 3 wins. You can go from 9 to 12 to 15 to 18 when there's only 17 games. So there's a pretty good chance we might not be at 15 next year, but we still want to be damn good and be competitive. Hopefully, for a number 1 seed, win the division again, and be healthy enough that when we play that playoff game, we're able to come out on top.
The amount of primetime games in the last couple of years, Matt. I mean, it's pretty obvious that's probably going to continue in the future, as you expect, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's certainly good for fandom and building a national brand. I think we've become one of the top TV draws. I think last year, other than the Cowboy Thanksgiving game on Fox, we were the number 2 Fox game, the number 1 CBS game, the number 1 ABC game, the number 1 Amazon game, the number 1 NBC game on the last. So we were the number 1 TV rated game on every network except for Fox. We were 2. So it's not just good for us; it's good for obviously the networks. I'm sure because of that, we'll have more primetime games. I think we're going to have a lot of 425 games like we did last year. And what that does is create a different challenge for how you manage the football week. Because you're playing not on Sunday at 1 o'clock. You're playing Sunday night. You're playing Monday night. You're playing Thursday night. You're playing 425, and for team travel, it becomes complicated. I begged to not have a Monday night game on the West Coast again. Like we play LA out there, so hopefully that if that's prime time, it's Sunday night or it's Sunday 4:25. So those are the kind of things you think about. It's just the travel and the wear and tear on the players, and for Dan, scheduling the week out. But that's just kind of the price of being a good team and being a marketable team. And as I said, it's a good problem to have.
Robert, how do you explain that phenomenon of you guys being so popular? I mean, beyond being good, like there's other good teams, but you hit on it. You are this fun, good young team. Maybe I don't know what's the.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I would say the fact that we have historically been a team that wasn't this good, and I think people do root for an underdog. I think Dan's a big part of it. He's a beloved coach. I think fans can relate to him, want him to be the coach of their team. I think the fact that we're an exciting team on offense, score a lot of points, run an occasional trick play that people like. All that feeds into it. And then I think just our fans are so hungry because they've been rooting for this for so long. It's just let's just get to the next step and really put this over the top.